Hi there, my moody moguls. You're listening to The Way Forward. What if the moment your marriage falls apart is actually the moment that you finally see yourself clearly? In this episode, it references a Taylor Swift song from the album Life of a Showgirl. Sometimes artists help us to see our lives through another lens. And this is a story, a better peace story. And it's about her struggle, her reality, and how darkness can evolve into light. Opalite, to be exact. By the end, you'll understand why. Sometimes the most painful ending, it can actually bring about the beginning of your peace. So, without further ado, I give you my sister, Better Peace.
Hey there, Better Moodies. Better Peace here today. Wanting to share some thoughts that I've had recently about a song that I am completely in love with right now. It is, in fact, Taylor Swift's song, Opalite. I just am enamored with the words to this song. So I just want to invite you to listen to the song because I really like all of it. I like the music that's with it. But I just want to share with you some of the lyrics from Taylor Swift, the song Opalite. It says, I had a bad habit of missing lovers past. My brother used to call it eating out of the trash. It's never gonna last. And then she goes through a few things and gets to this part that says, but my mama told me it's all right. You were dancing through the lightning strikes, sleepless in the onyx night, but now the sky is opalite. So I just wanted to tell you some of my thoughts about this song. First of all, I had to look up Opalite and recognize what that was. Because here she is talking about dancing through the lightning strikes, dancing through an onyx night, which onyx would be black, darkness. And this is not unknown to mankind, right? Us going through lightning strikes, being in dark places in our lives. It seems like it's actually all around us all the time. And opalite is actually a glass quartz. Think of the milky, translucent, light blue, glowing kind of the sky, just like this beautiful, calming texture, quality. And that's what this stone is actually tied to. Its properties are supposed to reflect emotional healing and calmness and transition into something new. So that's what opalite represents, right? Is this healing calmness as opposed to what she described before, these lightning strikes, sleepless nights, the onyx night. But now the sky is opalite. So I was reflecting on this and I was just thinking about some of my own lightning strikes. One of the biggest ones I've ever experienced in my life is when my ex-husband went into psychosis. It has been about 6 years ago now. It was December of 2019, so it's now December 2025. And I was just thinking about that. This is often something I think about each December, is what those moments were like, because a lightning strike just comes out of nowhere. You don't expect it. And it's just a surprise. It's a surprise. It's frightening if it hits you. It can really change everything, change the whole scene, and be the start or in the midst of a terrible storm. So December 2019, if you'll come back to that date with me, I remember waking up. I was holding my son, my third child, who was only about a month old. And, at that time, I was up all night nursing him, taking care of the baby. If you've ever had a newborn, it's like around the clock care. And just waking up to my husband at the time, going through our drawers and just dumping everything out, and haphazardly looking for, I didn't know what, but him turning to me and just looking rabid and just not himself, and telling me that he needed to burn all the books that were evil in our house. And I just remember staring at him like, what is happening right now? What? And thinking like, maybe I'm dreaming, I've been up so much with interrupted sleep day after day for however long now, about a month since I had my son. And just thinking to myself, like, what is happening right now? And realizing that I was in fact fully awake. And that this was the start of something I was totally not prepared for or expecting. But that was the day that it became very evident that he was in psychosis. And the definition of psychosis is a disconnect with reality. And as a result, when someone's in psychosis, they do a whole lot of things that don't necessarily make sense because they are basing their actions on what is not necessarily reality. So he burned a bunch of books in our backyard. We did have a fire pit, so at least there was that. And then he came back in and started playing rave music and dancing. My two older kids thought this was fun at the time, but I was just still floored. Like, what are you doing? Just to give you some context, my ex was a physician's assistant at one time. He was in the military. And then for most of our time that we were married, we were in ministry together, and he was a pastor. So his actions were just so unlike his self. But this was the biggest lightning strike that I thought would really be resolved. I thought that things would eventually get worked out. However, things eventually evened out, but the result was mental illness, and just a different person, which happens to a lot of people. Mental illness is something that all of us are faced with, whether it's depression, whether it's something that is more difficult to deal with, or whatever it is. Mental illness is known to all of us in various forms. Very much difficult when a person's understanding of reality is so skewed. But I do want to say that our mental health for all of us is based on how we view our reality. So some of the things that I started doing as I've gone through this journey after this lightning strike that has actually helped to move me towards Opalite is to transition the way I view and understand my reality. One of the major hits that I took from this lightning strike was my relationship with God. I thought that I had a very strong relationship with God, but as we find when we actually go through something difficult, we are not necessarily as strong as we think. One story that stood out to me recently, that just came to mind, because I'll tell you, I was angry with God for a long time, just because of the way things went after that lightning strike with my ex, and then my marriage eventually ended, and I'm now a single mom, which I am very thankful for the life that I'm able to have with my kids. having a great time with these three little jagabots, as we'd call them in Jamaica. But I was just so angry with God. I just felt like, yes, we teach people all the time that we go through trials, but this trial just felt like this is too much. This is too much. And I just really had a hard time coping with it. But if you read the story of Job, which is in the Bible, in the Old Testament, Job loses everything. I mean, this is a guy who's wealthy. He has a bunch of children. He has his wife. At that time, wealth meant lots of livestock. He was really doing well until one day he begins to lose one thing after another. Like his people who are out taking care of the animals come in and are like, fire came down from heaven and destroyed everything and everyone and all the animals. A band of people came and overtook us and took the animals. Like, it is just absurd. And it's like one thing after another until eventually he loses his children. And I just can't believe that Job is faithful to God through all of that, because I just was thinking like, well, I still have my children and I'm struggling over here. But then Job himself is struck with illness and sores all over his body that there's no position that he can lay in that he doesn't feel those sores. And you would think that Job would give up, because the one person who's actually closest to him, his wife, is like, you should curse God and die. Like, this is literally the worst thing that could ever happen to us. All of the worst things. And now look at you. And I used to just judge Job's wife so harshly. But I think I would be Job's wife. I'm pretty sure that I would be like, I'm done. I want to curse God and die. And we are so we are so spoiled often in our lives that when a trial comes the burden feels too much, that we just want to blame God and give up. And that's how lightning strikes can feel. That's how that onyx sky can feel, is just like darkness, death, darkness, hard, difficult, sad, pain, depression. And especially when we're living it day after day. Like, you don't get to, it's not like a lightning strike and then it just goes away. It's like the damage that has been caused from that is with us day after day, or we're living through our trials or our difficulty or our need day after day, and it is so difficult. But Job, I just want to read to you a little excerpt of a verse from the book of Job. It says, "Blessed is the one whom God reproves. Therefore, do not despise the discipline of the Almighty, for he wounds, but he binds up. He shatters, but his hands heal." And what stood out to me is, I don't necessarily know that every situation, I don't know that every situation is God punishing us. I don't believe that. I think that we live in a world with good and evil, and that as a result, sometimes of our choices, sometimes of other people's choices, we have pain and suffering to go through. But we can see here that it says God binds up. Things are shattered and his hands heal. And I think that if we want Opalite, then it is still up to us to find peace with ourselves, with God, with the universe, however you want to say that. We have to open up our hearts to accepting whatever has come our way, whatever our lightning strike has been. We have to be willing to say, this is what God has given me, like Job did, or this is, however you want to say it, this is what the universe has brought to me. And we have to accept that and be willing to live through that. Be willing to carry our burden, carry our cross. And this, I believe, creates your opalite. The onyx sky doesn't have to be onyx if we will open up our hearts and accept the lightning strike and reconstruct how we view the situation, how we choose to react to the situation. Because the interesting thing about opalite is that it's actually a man-made material. We, ourselves, have to make opalite a reality. We have to reach out our hand and take hold of the little things that will help us move towards peace. And I think the first step in doing that is opening up our hearts to accept the lightning strike. And instead of viewing it as onyx, allowing it to be opalite and to accept the changes that it brings into our lives.
Ooh, oh sis, that's really good. Accept the lightning strike. I think I eat lightning strikes on the daily. I eat it for breakfast. So if you're going through a transition and you're experiencing something, we want to hear your story. Please share it. You can share it on Spotify. You can DM me or us. Our email is better.moody.official@gmail.com. So look forward to hearing from you. You're listening to Better Peace, and this, of course, is Better Moody. We'll see you in the next episode, and we're out.